Hello, New Mexico, and welcome to another episode of Around the Roundhouse, a podcast about the policies, politics, and personalities of the state capitol during the 60-day session. My name is Daniel Chacón, and I'm the state government reporter for the New Mexican. As the session draws to a close and the days turn into hours, we're fortunate this week to have as our guest Senate Majority Leader Peter Wirth. Leader Wirth is a Santa Fe Democrat who has served in the legislature since 2004, first in the House of Representatives and then in the Senate since 2009. Senator, I know you're a busy man. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Happy to be here, Daniel. Looking forward to it.
Senator, for folks who are unfamiliar with the inner workings of the legislature, would you please explain the role of the Senate's Majority Leader? What do you do?
So I steer the ship. Basically, every day, figure out kind of what the run of show is going to look like. That's built in large part on what we do the night before, kind of figuring out what bills are here, what's going to go on the floor, what the order is on the floor, and then very close communication with the Republican leader. The thing about this time in particular is the wrong bill goes on the floor that doesn't have an agreement, and the whole place can blow up. So again, at this moment, it's primarily about navigating the floor, but also as the majority leader, I determine what committees bills go to. So we review all the new bills as they come in and assign those to committees. And then it's really, again, as the leader of our caucus, it's navigating and knowing when to push and when to back off. A lot of work with the governor. I was on the phone with her early this morning. And again, it's part of just kind of setting the agenda and really trying to continue what we've been doing so far, which is a collaborative session that I feel good about.
Well, Senator, on that point, one of our first guests on the podcast was Minority Leader Bill Scher of Farmington, and I wanted to ask if you could describe your relationship with him and kind of what happens, as you indicated, what happens behind the scenes to determine which bills get heard and which ones don't.
Well, yeah, we're at that point, especially with, again, we're down to hours. You're right. There is a day mixed in there, but we'll be going hard straight through. So just as an example, this morning I met with Senator Scher to let him know what I was thinking. And then we talked through kind of what that's going to look like, what amendments are coming. Is there going to be a call of the Senate? Obviously, an interesting process where the doors, just for the listeners, the doors get locked and we can't proceed until all the members are in the chamber unless someone's been excused, but they have to be excused completely, not excused subject to the call.
Yes.
So we had one of those for 4 days, 5 days early on this session. And so it's just, I think, the way this works is to have communication. Okay. And when he and I communicate, we can help get ourselves through a day. And he obviously is working with his caucus. I'm working with mine. And doesn't mean we're always 100% where all the caucus is. That's the challenge of being leaders. You've got to really push when you need to push and then back off, when it's clear that something's not going to go. So it's an important relationship. I've been the majority leader for 9 years, so worked with Stuart Engel, who was a East Side, a farmer, been around forever.
Yes.
We had a super good relationship. Greg Baca, senator from Los Lunas area, was the minority leader after that. Little challenging up front, but again, we eventually figured it out. And so, we spend a lot of time sitting here. We're in the Senate Majority Conference Room this morning, and we spend time sitting right here going through what the minority needs, what the majority, where we're going to push. And so people don't realize how much collaboration there is. And even though we've got, 26 members and they have 16, at this time in the session, the reality is that the tools exist in the rules for them to shut the whole place down.
Yes, sir.
And so you have to have that collaboration. And your listeners need to understand that sometimes they can't figure out why certain things are happening. Well, oftentimes that's because that's the agreement we've reached that allows us to do 10 other things that I want to do, even if there's something I don't necessarily like 100%. So that's where we are.
Senator, your role as a mediator must be so beneficial in this job.
Well, I like to say I do get paid a lot of money in my private law life to mediate disputes and enjoy that immensely. And then I come over here and I've got 111 other legislators. I've got a governor, and I spend a lot of time, trying to find that middle ground. I just, as an example, did have a conversation with the governor this morning about something that's in a place where everyone's not completely happy, and I always like to say in my mediation role, when everyone's unhappy, I've done my job. Because It's hard. You're not going to get everything you want, and this place is all about compromise. And unfortunately, compromise is one of those words these days in politics that's hard to get to. So that's something I truly believe in. I'm always working to get people around the table and get results.
Leader Wirth, there's still time on the clock, but give us an assessment of this year's 60-day session. Has it been a success? Have there been disappointments?
So there's always successes and disappointments. I will say we did something very unique in doing a push on the front end. In the first 30 days, we ended up passing really substantial behavioral health reform and also an initial public safety package. I've thought a lot about that as we're here in the last number of days and realized, had you mixed all of that into all the other chaos now here at the end, I don't think we ever could have gotten those across the line. And so it's a different session. Feels like we've done two 30-day sessions back to back. But I think that everyone has pushed hard on the front end, so people are kind of the gas tank is empty for lots of folks. But I'm really glad we did that, and I think now the question it's wrapping up the different pieces. My focus is making sure that the big pieces get done. So we did the budget yesterday. I had to negotiate a bit on that. We were delayed for about an hour on the floor, and folks need to know when that happens, it's because I'm trying to figure out how do we avoid and navigate and avoid a call of the Senate on the budget, which I don't think I've ever seen, but that was a potential yesterday. So we avoided that. And today we've got big bills again. There's a tax package that's been discussed a bunch. The capital outlay passed the House last night. There is a provision in there for an abortion clinic that I know is causing concern. So we'll have a lengthy debate on that, but at the end of the day, all those projects need to go. And so we're at that point where we're just making sure the big things go today, and then it's a question of figuring out what's left the next couple days.
May I ask if you spoke with the governor about that $10 million appropriation for the abortion facility?
I did not.
Okay.
I did not. So I think that came pretty late. And again, in fairness, I have not been at the table on all the negotiations on capital outlay. We have a Senate team and a House team, and again, she certainly, just so folks understand, we divide the capital outlay up. So she's got there's a statewide piece, and then the governor has a third, Senate has a third, the House has a third. And so certainly she's got a final say in what we do because she can veto things.
Yes, sir. But
she certainly has the right to allocate the money as she sees fit. And she had previously done, I think, $10 million for an abortion clinic in Las Cruces. That's now the groundbreaking has happened for that. So, again, I support what she's doing. I just think it does add a little bit of drama to what normally is a relatively event-free bill. So we'll do that today.
Drama is a thing that happens regularly at the Roundhouse, it seems. Senator, you mentioned the behavioral health package or bills early in the session, and you were behind the $1 billion behavioral health trust fund. There's a $100 million quote unquote down payment. Can you help us understand the math there? Because I think there might be some confusion there around that trust fund.
Well, and here's the good news. Stay tuned. And today we are going to pass a bill that deals with the Early Childhood Trust Fund. And so in that bill are some earmarks to divert some of the oil and gas revenues that currently go in there into the Behavioral Health Trust Fund and into a Medicaid trust fund. Super important. So we will fill, I think I said up front, we're going to fill that trust fund up from different buckets. This will fill it up pretty quickly to get us to the $1 billion. And there's a Medicaid trust fund, which, given everything happening in Washington, is super important. So that bill will be on the floor, this morning. I don't know when the podcast is going to run, but it's all happening so fast. But lots of discussion about that. But there's an agreement with the governor to use the Early Childhood Fund to fill up the Behavioral Health Trust Fund and fill up the Medicaid. Take a couple of years, and then it'll go back to early childhood. So it's going to happen, and I'm super excited that we represented we were going to do that. And you're right, it's hard to figure out all the pieces, but today I think a key piece on that will happen.
Fantastic. We'll be there to cover it. Leader Wirth, you mentioned speaking with the governor again. The governor issued a statement this week saying she was, quote unquote, appalled that lawmakers had not passed any substantive legislation to deal with juvenile crime following the arrest of a 13-year-old boy charged with murder. If the governor was sitting in this room, what would you tell her?
Well, I would tell her that a bill came out of the Senate Judiciary Committee last night that does have juvenile enhancements in it. It had come over from the House, and I think we'll put that bill on the floor today.
Okay.
The challenge is trying to find the right balance. And obviously these are kids, or clearly something has broken down in their lives. And I share the kind of outrage at seeing some of the incredibly violent crimes that are being committed by kids as young as 11 years old. So trying to find the right balance there, though, is important. Again, can these kids be rehabilitated? And so you're going to see something that will have some enhancements in it. I will tell you there are members in my caucus who do not like those enhancements. So, but that will move forward. And I think, again, another bill that probably will be on the floor today. And so you'll see a big debate about that. But yes, there's no question that that's, one of the things. It's funny how the ebbs and flows, a number of the bills way back in the special session are nowhere to be seen.
Right.
But we've also done some things that I think are important. For example, civil commitment, something the governor really wanted to have happen. That we're working on that still because it died on the House. We passed it unanimously this session here in the Senate. So that's also in play, and I want to see if I can get that across the line.
Republicans have asserted that Democrats have fallen short with regard to crime. Do you agree, disagree?
So we passed the public safety package up front. Included in the behavioral health package was the criminal competency and public safety, the criminal competency fix, which was one of the big issues the governor had. Civil commitment's another big one that she wants. I'm working to get that across the line. Senate has passed a RICO statute, a racketeering statute that's tightened up, that involves human trafficking. That's waiting to be heard on the House. I will tell you, Daniel, I have heard governors of both parties always saying they want more on crime. We spent 8 years with Governor Martinez when this was all we ever heard was pass more penalties, lock more people up. I think we've continued to try and find the right balance, and we've made progress on that front. There's certainly still pounding of the drum. We rolled out a couple of additional crime bills last night out of Senate Judiciary, so you see a few more that come out.
Okay.
But I don't think there's ever going to be full happiness, and it becomes a huge political issue. And let's not minimize that. We're in a swing and pendulums are moving around, and so that message is there. But I'm comfortable with where we are, and we'll put some more of those bills on, and we'll see where we end up.
Leader Wirth, one of the most publicized bills of the session was a revised proposal to set up a paid family and medical leave program, which didn't make it out of Senate Finance. Did you support that piece of legislation?
I did.
Okay.
I did, and I supported it going into the House. I had to try and figure out what exactly the House did, because one of the challenges, they made a substantial change,
yes,
really with the leadership of Speaker Martinez. But I sat down with him and he walked me through it. I thought it made sense, and at the same time, I understand that the forces that don't want that to happen kind of got in the mix, and it became, what's interesting, Daniel, is you had forces that supported the original version of the bill that didn't like the compromise, and so then all of a sudden you have groups on the left and the right working to make it not pass. So it didn't pass. I think we need to keep working on it.
Okay.
And for the business community, just be careful, because this was a compromise that dramatically lowered the impact for businesses. I'm sure in 2 years there'll be a proposal back to more like what it started at, which has a bigger impact. So at some point we've got to get this done. It's important.
Leader Wirth, you've been very, very generous with your time. Thank you so much. I wanted to ask you how you decompress after a session. Is there a trip to Hawaii in the cards?
So what I'm going to do this year, I've got 2 full days at my law office on Monday and Tuesday, and then we are on an airplane to go see a new grandson.
Oh.
Not completely new at this point. He's about 9 months old, but I'm super excited about that. But it's true, it takes about a week to recover. Just the level of adrenaline and no sleep, and I take every day, one day at a time. So this morning, waking up and looking forward to a good day. I'll be glad to be on the other end, though.
Well, congratulations, Grandpa. Senator, thank you again for your time. We'll take a quick break and discuss some of the highlights of the last week of the session and look ahead at what's to come in the final days, or should we say final hours.
This is Patrick Dorsey, publisher of the Santa Fe New Mexican. Looking to reach a wider audience and grow your business? For 175 years, the Santa Fe New Mexican has been the trusted voice of Santa Fe, with unmatched local reach in print and online. In addition to our long-standing, independent, family-owned newspaper, we have a full-fledged marketing team with the expertise to help you succeed in the 21st century. From traditional print to precision-targeted digital advertising, we have the tools to connect you with your ideal customers. Partner with us and see the results for yourself. Advertise with the Santa Fe New Mexican and unlock your business's full potential. Visit us at santafenewmexican.com/advertising or call us at 505-995-3852. Thank you.
We're back with Around the Roundhouse. I'm your host, Daniel Chacón. It's been a busy final week at the state capitol with consideration of major pieces of legislation that have yet to reach the governor's desk. The Senate this week approved the state's $10.8 billion spending plan, as well as the tax package that includes various tax credits. Both bills are awaiting a concurrence vote in the House. A Senate amendment to the tax package that eliminated an oil and gas equalization surtax was expected to meet resistance in the House, potentially triggering a so-called conference committee to give both chambers an opportunity to resolve their differences. The Senate also passed a $1.2 billion capital outlay bill that would fund more than 1,400 projects statewide. That bill also met resistance, specifically from Republicans who opposed a $10 million appropriation from the governor for a reproductive health clinic in northern New Mexico. While the capital outlay bill, and this is the bill that allows lawmakers to bring home the bacon, passed, lawmakers sounded the alarm on a growing backlog of projects and balances of unspent capital outlay, now more than $6 billion. The chairman of the powerful Senate Finance Committee, Senator George Munoz of Gallup, said the unspent capital outlay appropriations would be the first bucket of money he would look at if New Mexico was hit with federal funding cuts.
They're not moving. For whatever reason, they're not moving. And so if you're not going to spend your money, and the reauth is a perfect example. Some of those reauths are going on 6 years. Next year I'm not doing a reauth bill, but if you're going to come look at money and if you haven't spent your money, we're going to come get it. And I hope we don't have to come that way, but why decimate a budget when you have $6 billion of unspent money across the state, when we don't have to hurt anybody, when it's all just fluff?
Munoz vowed to reform the capital outlay program, a promise he's made in the past, and asked communities who come forward with requests for money to have all their ducks in a row.
I think the message is you better come prepared with a plan. You better come prepared with a cost. You better have the ability to finish and complete and manage and maintain your projects, or we're not going to do it.
Okay.
I mean, we're going to have the capital bill, and I'm going to make it very hard for you to give us a reason why we should fund you. Because if you don't have a plan, if you don't have estimates, if you don't have design, you don't have anything. You have a dream.
Meanwhile, Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham has also been busy signing bills, including Senate Bill 5, which includes sweeping changes to the Department of Game and Fish and the State Game Commission. Though a major component of the bill was line item by the governor, that component would have created a new removal process for Wild Commission members. We have a dedicated team of reporters and photographers at the Capitol monitoring developments in real time. For the latest developments, follow our coverage online at SantaFeNewMexican.com, where you can also subscribe to our political newsletter, The Roundhouse Report, for updates sent directly to your inbox. My thanks again to Senate Majority Leader Peter Wirth for joining us, and thank you for listening to Around the Roundhouse, which you can subscribe to through Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, or wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time, I'm Daniel Chacón, and this has been Around the Roundhouse.